Ramesh, you're taking up my job.
Yes, mine too.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the moment we've been waiting for. Thank you all for being here. And on behalf of the organizing committee, it's my utmost pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you and each one of you at the launch of BFSI Consortium. A consortium which aims to collaborate efforts and execute innovative strategies that will accelerate the growth of BFSI sector. We are thrilled to have you all join us at this moment. Our chief guest, Honorable Minister of Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Industries and Commerce and Information Technology, Electronics and Communication, Shri KT Ramarao. Sir, we welcome you and thank you for being here. Earlier, we also had Ms. Vakati Karuna, Secretary, Department of Education, Government of Telangana, also appointed as VC of Telangana University, who had to excuse herself. We also would like to thank Mr. Jayesh Ranjan for being a backbone and being a support in all our efforts towards BFSI Consortium. Among us today, we have representatives of GDC BFSI like Cognizant, Virtusa, Infosys, TCS, MNC BFSI like State Street, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, HSBC, JPMC, and Mass Mutual. We have associations representatives of AmCham, NASSCOM, HYSIA. We have consulting companies, GCCs like EY, Deloitte, KPMG. Also, we have educational institutions represented by their representatives like IIT Hyderabad, Triple IT, Vardhaman College, ISB. Thank you. So without taking much of your time, I would like to quote a quote from Phil Jackson. Sorry, it's my jet lag. Phil Jackson, an American former professional basketball player. The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. And believing in this is where the core committee of BFSI Consortium got together. Distinguished guests, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce a true luminary in the world of finance and technology. We are fortunate to have him here to enlighten us about the significance and potential of BFSI Consortium. As a visionary leader with an impressive track record in financial services sector, he has consistently demonstrated a profound understanding of the evolving landscape of BFSI. With a passion for collaboration and a keen eye for transformative trends, he has been instrumental in driving impactful partnerships within the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a warm round of applause as I invite one of the gems of the core team of BFSI Consortium, Mr. Ramesh Kaza, Senior MD, Chief Information Officer, Head of Strategy and Transformation, ICIO, State Street Bank and Trust, India.
Thank you. I do see my core team. I wanted to first start by recognizing them. Mamata Madhuredi from HSBC, if you can stand up for a second. Ravi Thangirala, he probably knows everyone and everyone knows Ravi Thangirala from Mass Mutual. Rajesh Balaraju recently joined London Stock Exchange Group. And last but not least is Subha Pereppa from JP Morgan Chase. Many of you should be wondering, those who are not connected to the acronym BFSI, however, close to 4 to 5 jobs in a year in any country belong to this industry, the banking, financial services, and insurance sector. Quite frankly, there is no human who is not connected to financial services. Right from the time we get out of the college, we look for an opportunity to ensure that we connect to one of those banks and look for investments and then grow the sector. Today, with more than 5.8 million people working in the IT and the IT-enabled services sector in India, I would profoundly say that anywhere between 40 to 45% of them work for this industry, the banking, financial services, and the insurance industry today. You're talking about close to 3+ million people working in India alone in this industry. That's the size of that opportunity. And quite frankly, pretty much everyone sitting here, you are connected to this industry directly, if not indirectly for sure. Now, if that's a kind of opportunity we have, when you look at the current workforce, whether it is our own companies or it is our colleague companies, we look at the workforce coming from the colleges that we hire today. I may be getting these numbers wrong, but somewhere in the range of 1.5 million people just out of the engineering colleges coming into the market. And not all of them are getting into the companies that we are referring to today. But leave that number aside, just look at the fact that anyone coming out of engineering colleges, whether they have a major in civil, mechanical, electronics, computer science, they almost have no knowledge of finance before they join us. So the first problem is we hire them and we tell them on the day one, please forget all the 50 subjects you studied to get your engineering, and day one we will teach you what to do. And then every company spends millions and millions of dollars to train them, only for them to leave the company in just 18 months or 24 months to the next company. So if I were to put it in a little more casual way, I keep saying that JP Morgan is probably hiring people for State Street. State Street is hiring for Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo is hiring for JP Morgan. We are losing people within no time. We are probably not creating the right kind of ecosystem here. The reality is we can't blame the colleges. They are looking for help, they are looking for support, and they're looking for an opportunity for us to partner with. So the BFSI consortium is an attempt to bring all of us together to primarily look at changing the education system so that we can create this concept of shift left training programs. Domain is most important for banking. Many of our students come with almost no knowledge of the domain, and I'm only talking about engineering. Maybe people who have done MBA in finance will come with that knowledge, but that's a very small percentage. And then we end up actually training those students and then turning them into professionals in the later stage. Why can't we make education more relevant is the first opportunity and objective BFSI is looking for. So with that said, I would request Karthik to get the next slide for us. People from consulting are here. You heard that from Rashmi. There are partners, training center companies, startup companies connected to the fintech ecosystem. There are multinational companies from pretty much every BFSI sector here, including, I could probably talk about Sudipto from Berkadia. We don't get to see him more often, but every financial services company we have invited here. We have the large global delivery centers like Tata Consultancy, Infosys, and many other. I might have missed some of them. Sorry about that, but they're all present here. And we have all the industry associations. We wanted to run this as one opportunity versus every group trying to do this in silos, whether it is American Chamber of Commerce, Society for Cyberabad Security Council, HISIA, Hyderabad Software Enterprises Association, or NASCOM. All of us are going to be partnering with us to make this a more meaningful outcome in the coming years. Of course, the governmental organizations, we don't have to talk about the kind of support we get from our IT minister, the passion he shows, and the genuine interest he has to make sure that Hyderabad becomes the epicenter for IT and IT-enabled services across the entire state of Telangana. And last but not least is the educational institutions. We believe that it's important that we should not just call the students for internship program, we should actually call the teachers to do an immersion program with us. So they go back and provide this knowledge back to the students with small projects they can start to do from their first semester, second semester of their courses itself. This is probably by far the best opportunity for us to make an impact collectively with BFSI as a platform. Karthik, if you can help me go to the next slide. I'm going to take 3-4 slides quickly. The first thing is lead the way. And I can tell you profoundly, and I would, unless somebody challenges us, presumably this is probably the India's first BFSI consortium with a combination like this. And all I can tell you is that if you are sitting here and listening to this session, it's an opportunity for you to make an impact collectively with us. The second one, it's for us, it's by us, and there are no leaders here, there are no partners here. It's going to be registered as a non-profit organization, and all of us who are a part of this particular consortium can contribute to it. It could be primarily on the education, because we know that we are hiring people and we are having our own challenges of hiring people and then training them. But beyond hiring, we can rebrand, create a much better understanding to the students of building a career in this sector versus switching jobs more frequently. This is also a very tight risk and regulatory compliance organization. So tomorrow when the cryptocurrency industry flares up, we should be the pioneers and the leaders setting up the standards around this. And cybersecurity is a major focus area for this particular industry. That means we have to induce this knowledge in the students' mindset at the beginning of their career, not after they join the organization. So how do we take this forward, including quantum and the related? In fact, we have Dr. Reena also here from QETCI organization. Going to the next one. Scale it as we like it. We believe that we could be the trend sector, where if you start off with the BFSI industry, once we figured out what is the best framework to take this forward, we can implement this to pharma, we can implement this to life sciences, and quite frankly, the replication is the fastest way to make this happen. So we are looking for BFSI to be probably the trendsetter, and then other organizations and other domains can take this forward. Karthik, the next one. We believe India needs it. We can't be just a services sector. Innovation, in fact, we are sitting at technically the world's largest innovation center, T-Hub. That's why we have chosen this place. And for us to be able to be that trendsetter, India has to make sure that we are not just only developing services as a focus, but also startup ecosystem as a focus. That means we have to start from here and take this idea across the entire country so that Telangana could be the first state to be able to build this kind of model, and then we spread across the rest of the nation. And maybe these students who get trained will be in high demand across the world, not necessarily just in this country. We want to make this state proud. And quite frankly, when I moved back here, I had a very little knowledge of Hyderabad back in 2009. And I can tell you that I have seen the real growth in the last 14 years, especially the passion that our IT minister shows from day one, from 2014 to now. We have seen that very visibly. And you know the numbers as much as I know, that we have taken more than 33% of the IT growth in the last financial year just in this state alone. And then all the tier 2 centers are coming up. That means for us an opportunity not to just build everything in this city, but spread it to the other cities and make this state proud, because we are working here and we see the benefits of it. And it's an opportunity for us to make that collective impact through this as a platform. And the last one, this is a clarion call. And in fact, the reason we are sharing this with you is that we wanted not just one of us feel it, but all of us feel it, that all the BFSI companies, there are mid-sized companies, there are global delivery centers, there are multinational centers. You're all hiring people and you're all facing the same challenge we are facing from the core team. We wanted your help. Partner with us to see how we can make a collective impact. The next is the government. Of course, stand by us, provide us the right support in terms of how we can ensure that it's not just the minister, but also all the government organizations, including NPCI, and of course we have the risk board here, and there are a lot of regulatory boards here. How do they partner with us to be able to make that impact happen? In fact, ICSA has more than 15,000 people in the city. They can be a great partner in providing domain-based knowledge for us. That's what we are seeing as an opportunity there. And of course, education sector, they are ready to work with us yesterday. And for us to be able to partner with them and help them understand how we can bring the right mindset to the students, not just only on the domain knowledge, but also on the technology knowledge, and coupled with the right behaviors of building the right careers is an opportunity for us in this sector. And last but not least is there are so many consulting organizations and associations who are looking to see how they can help the entire IT and the IT-enabled services grow. In that, if 4 to 5 jobs out of the 10 belong to this sector, if we can put the energy in this, rest everything automatically scales up and it will become an opportunity for us to make a collective impact. And the last but not least on the slide, I've already taken the time to introduce. I'm so proud of the entire team, especially Mamta, having been here in this industry for a very long time. Pretty much all of us together, 5 of us might be, I don't want to give you an idea of our ages, and I'm talking anywhere from 120 to 150 years of collective experience, but this is just a start. We want you to believe in the fact that this organization belongs to you, and you are going to be a part of that. So having said that, I know our minister just stepped out for a quick call. As soon as he comes back, Rashmi is going to walk us on the next steps. Thank you for making time, and thank you for your patience today. We are looking forward to a great collaboration through this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you for taking us through and educating us through what BFSI Consortium is actually planning to do. So with that, today we are also here to witness the unveiling of 2 significant elements that would serve as identity for BFSI Consortium. Without wasting too much time, I will call them as the famous 5 of Hyderabad. That is the core committee of BFSI Consortium. Let me invite the leading lady of the team, Mamata Madhireddy. Could I also invite Ravi Tangirala from Mass Mutual, Subha Perpa from JPMC, Ramesh Kaza from State Street, and last but not the least, Rajesh Balaraju from LSEG, that's London Stock Exchange Group. Dear KTR sir, could I please request you to please come up on the stage and unveil the logo for BFSI Consortium. We can continue the claps going. Can I request the program managers to please come up on stage? Well, the logo has been designed and handcrafted and has a lot of meanings while Subha is explaining that. Well, we are not done yet. This is just the first identity, but we also are unveiling our website. Please feel free to log in. It's bfsiconsortium.com. I would also request you can feel free to bookmark. It doesn't cost you anything, and go through the whole website and let us know where and how you want to be part of the team. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, sir, for unveiling the identity for BFSI Consortium. It's my great honor and pleasure that I stand before you today to introduce the distinguished chief guest. He is a visionary leader, a seasoned statesman, and a driving force behind the technological revolution that is shaping the future of the state of Telangana. The man who is not letting any stone unturned to achieve his goals. He has been at the forefront of driving digital transformation, innovation inclusive growth and in the realm of information technology, with an unwavering commitment to harnessing the potential of technology for the betterment of society. He has played a pivotal role in advancing our country's position in the global tech stage. The man with the mantra, KCR, any guesses what that is? Keep the city running. Yes, only he gave the mantra. I asked the audience to tell me what is KCR. Definitely not the Chief Minister. It is Keep City Running. I would request you to please come up on stage and
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you to the entire team. We'll start with Mamta. Mamta, Subha, of course, Ramesh, Ravi Garu, and Rajesh. I also would like to recognize and acknowledge my Special Secretary of Investment Promotions, Dr. Vishnuvardhan Reddy Garu, our Chief Relations Officer, Amarnath Reddy Garu, a former DGP and a dear friend, Shri Mahendra Reddy Garu, Srimati Amala Kineni Garu. I would also like to recognize my Director Digital Media, Dilip Garu, and to all the distinguished audience here, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, my apologies for showing up half an hour late. I know I'm in between you and your lunch. I'm presuming that you haven't had lunch, so... Oh, they did. Okay, then I haven't. I guess so. I've realized that just now. Thank you, by the way. I love the way the logo is designed, Subha. Thank you for making sure banks and governments have the same symbol and we don't actually have a separate one. Thank you, though. Thank you for at least presuming that, we have so much money that we can be symbolized and we can have a common symbol as the banks. See, I remember this conversation I had a few years ago when Honorable Prime Minister called all of us. This was, I think, about 3 years ago. He'd called us, called the heads of all political parties in the country to discuss on how to celebrate the 75th year of independence. He also had called all of us to talk about 150th, birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So I was possibly the youngest, in that room. We were all thespians, very senior people. We had Sharad Pawarji, we had Naveen Patnaik, we had, lots of other biggies. We had, the Home Minister, we had the Defense Minister, and this was an in-camera conversation. So he asked us to speak freely. He said, because there's no cameras, you can say anything and you can basically, I'm here to listen, is what he said. And he said, how do we really get to the dream of becoming the first world country, that every Indian really dreams of, every Indian really aspires to. I'm presuming that most of you in this room have been to the West, have either lived there or studied there, have worked there, and some or traveled there, if not anything else. So each and every time an Indian goes from India, travels abroad, and comes back, like I do often, like I think Rashmi does too. You complained of jet lag, so I presumed. Each and every time you come back, you come back with a mixed feeling. Just when you land in your airport and when you go back home, you start taking notice of things around. You start comparing mentally, you start looking around, you start saying, why are we like this? Why can't we be better? How are they different? Why is it that we can't get a few basics right? So when the Prime Minister actually asked us, he said, what is the key to making sure that India becomes truly a first world nation by the time we turn 100 after independence, by 2047? So I asked him if I could speak freely. He said, absolutely. Then I said, sir, don't mind me saying this, but I think the mantra that we all ought to think of as politicians is on two levels. One, I think most of us politicians, most of us who are in the rigor of politics are worried and concerned about winning the next election. And from the very day you get elected till the next election, your constant focus actually, somewhere at the back of your mind or somewhere at the forefront, is actually always about winning elections. Because we are wanting to do the popular thing. We don't want to do the unpopular thing. We want to make sure that, we win the next election by hook or crook. I don't want to give stories about, what all goes on into politics and what all goes on into elections, but that is a hard reality. That's the first thing we all have to accept. The second thing, if you really have it in you as a Prime Minister, as a leader, to see India change and to see India really become a global superpower. Not a notional superpower, but a real superpower. Yes, we are the third largest economy in the world today, but look at our per capita. We're still around $2,000+ compared to the US or compared to the West, where it's $60,000, $65,000. So what I told the Prime Minister is, sir, I think firstly, we need to think about the next generation, not next election. That's the first point. It sounds a bit cliched, but that's a fact. We don't. Secondly, we also need to start focusing on basics: innovation, infrastructure, and inclusive growth. The 3I mantra, if we are able to actually latch onto it, build around it. When I say innovation, I just don't mean technology innovation or tech startups. I mean innovation in every sphere of life. What do I mean every sphere of life? For example, I'm in the government. How can I, as a government, innovate in terms of policy? How can I come out with newer policies, disruptive thinking, disruptive ideas, which actually challenge the status quo, which actually ensure that change is brought about in a record time? For instance, what we have done in Telangana, I'll just give you one example. How even a government can innovate, how even a government can disrupt. See, we've had governments in the past, we've had people run the state in the past, we've had chief ministers, governments, etc. But today, the state of Telangana, which is in terms of the total India population, we are only 2.5% of India's population. But when national Panchayat awards are declared, and when national urban awards, municipality awards, Swachh Sarvekshan awards are declared, a state with less than 2.5% of India's population wins more than 30% of the awards. How did that happen? That happened because of one reason. That happened only because of one reason. Our chief minister decided that we will disrupt the policy, we will take the status quo head on, and we'll bring about certain changes which will actually ensure that we perform better. What are the things we've done? Just to give you two examples. We brought in two policies. One is called the state Panchayati Raj policy. The other one's called the state municipality policy. What did we bring in these? We actually put in performance as a measure. We took performance as a measure, and we are actually calling out our councillors, our sarpanches, and we're saying if you don't perform to a certain extent, you can actually be sacked. Give you one example again. The total budget that is earmarked for a municipality or a gram panchayat today in Telangana, 10% as per statute, as per law, is actually marked towards greenery. Therefore, 10% of the budget, irrespective of which local body you are, which local government you are, goes towards greenery, goes towards maintaining a nursery, goes towards maintaining the survival of your plants, etc., etc. That's exactly why today Telangana has become a role model in how probably your villages have to be groomed, how probably your towns have to be improved. Of course, we have a long room to cover, long way to go, much more to achieve. We've made a good start, good beginning is what I'm saying. We've had the guts and audacity as a government to stand up in the assembly and say, if you do not achieve 85% of survival of the saplings you've planted, your job is at risk, to our sarpanches and to our councillors and to our panchayat secretaries. Not many governments actually have the gall to do this. Likewise, when we actually came out with the industrial policy, we came out with a reformative policy. We said, in fact, I'll tell you an interesting episode that ensued between, interesting conversation that ensued between our chief minister and our officers. So Jayesh Ranjan, who's not here today, who's in Delhi actually working on something interesting, he was there, as part of this discussion, and there was a gentleman called Pradeep Chandra, who was our special chief secretary then, as the Secretary of Industries. So Chief Minister KTR Garu pointedly asked these two gentlemen. I was not the minister then. I was not the minister for industry then. I was the minister for IT alone. So I was not part of the conversation. So the chief minister asked both of them point blank. He said, why does the government actually have to give a clearance to any industry? So here are these two gentlemen who have put in decades of service into government, are used to giving out permissions, are used to giving clearances. And here is a new chief minister sitting across a table, asking them, challenging them, saying, why should the government even give a clearance? What is the need? So both of these gentlemen looked at each other. First of all, the specialty of KTR Garu is, most review meetings we walk in, assuming that we are fully prepared. And he's one of those guys whose first question is always out of syllabus for us. You've all written exams, I'm sure, as students, so you know what I'm saying. always the first question, is a googly, so you're confused and you completely forget what else you have learned, right? So these two guys are scratching their head trying to figure out a logical answer. And then Pradeep Chandra finally says, sir, but if something goes wrong, what do we do? How do we make them accountable? If something goes wrong, some disaster happens, somebody dies, God forbid, somebody has to be held accountable. So CM said, that's very conventional way of thinking. Let's actually change it. Let's actually suggest this, that any industry in Telangana can come and hit the ground running. You can start your operations on day one. You can start construction on day one. We don't have a problem. You can self-certify yourselves and you can declare that you are going to be a law-abiding enterprise. All you have to do is, of course, you also have to be in compliance with the law of the land. So you need to submit details online and we'll promise all clearances in 15 days. And if you don't deliver on the 15-day window, on the 16th day, it's again a default approval, a deemed approval. No state in India had, again, the gall to say this. And on the 16th day, even a senior bureaucrat like Jayesh or even a senior officer like Mahendra Reddy Garu can be fined, can be penalized, a sum of rupees 1,000 per day, again backed by statute, unlike any other state in India. So the point I'm trying to make is, innovation is not confined to industry. Innovation is not confined to startups alone. Innovation can happen anywhere. Therefore, Telangana today, in fact, in the country, we lead in ease of doing business rankings. We lead on a number of other metrics as well, purely because we've started thinking outside of the box. Second point I'd like to make quickly is infrastructure. We've focused on infrastructure. Today, when our chief minister goes in front of a camera and announces that he's going to build the world's largest lift irrigation project in a span of 5 years, not many people actually believed it. Normally in India, the practice has been, that a chief minister launches a project, especially if it's an irrigation project, you will at least need another 4 or 5 chief ministers to complete it and then eventually commission it. But here's a chief minister who's come out and said, I'm going to be completing this project, which is going to cost us about 1 lakh crore, and I'll complete it in a breakneck speed of 5 years. Not many people bought it. Today, I'm standing here proud, and you can open your Google browser and you can actually type in, key in and check. The world's largest lift irrigation project today is not in any other country or any other state, but it is in Telangana. It is actually right here in our own country. It's Kaleshwari. So infrastructure has been an absolute priority for us. I remember this very famous saying of John F. Kennedy, where he said, a lot of people, when we go to America or when we go to the West, we're very impressed with the highway infrastructure. We're very impressed with the infrastructure in general. I remember that saying very, very clearly and very, very vividly. John F. Kennedy said, a lot of people think America has good infrastructure because it is rich, but America is rich because it has good infrastructure. So it is imperative for all of us, for state governments, for central government to realize that we need to continue to invest in infrastructure. It could be power, it could be water, it could be roads, it could be ports, it could be anything, any form of infrastructure. It could be T-hub, it could be industrial infrastructure, it could be any physical or digital infrastructure. It's imperative that India has to get it right to be able to move on to the next level. The third thing I told Prime Minister was that we need to be inclusive. We cannot leave out any section of the society. It could be a Muslim, it could be a Hindu, it could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be a transgender. No matter who you are, where you come from, it could be a person from a rural area, a small town, or it could be a person from America who's just come back. We need to be able to actually create a level playing field where we provide opportunities to each and every one of them. Unless we do that, unless we stop discriminating our own people based on their religion, sex, caste, whatever nonsense that divides us, unless we raise above that petty nonsense, we'll not be able to become a powerful country. He may have liked it, he may not have liked it, I don't care. But the fact is, I spoke my mind, I told him for what it is. But that isn't the only mantra I believe in. When I walked in here, I was thinking about what Ramesh was saying, what other colleagues who walked up to me and greeted me said. The other piece that people always talk about, the world over the next 1 decade, 2 decades, if you look, if you look at any articles, if you look at any YouTube stories, or if you look at, if you hear any talks, or if you hear any podcasts, you would see that everybody's talking about digitization, everybody's talking about decarbonization. I'm glad you're talking about democratization also. Once in a while, it's also good to hear that. And decentralization. Unless we focus on these 4 Ds as well, digitize as much as you can, because during COVID, we all realized the power of digital infra. You know, the world as we knew it, the world as it functions, as we knew how it would function normally and how quickly it got disrupted, yet Hyderabad and India stood up to the challenge of what was thrown at us. And I'm delighted that none of us, not a single enterprise, not a single individual actually, has let down his institution. We have not let down any of our global clients in terms of service level agreements. In fact, if anything, we went to their rescue. We came to their rescue. Some of them who couldn't operate in the US or in the West, we actually were able to elevate our game, and we were able to support many other functions as well during the time of COVID. So I believe very strongly that the road ahead is one where we need to collaborate, we need to connect, and we need to synthesize something truly beautiful. Because we have the banking sector here, we have the financial services sector here, we also have the insurance companies here. In fact, Ramesh hasn't mentioned, but Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India, the IRDA, is headquartered in Hyderabad. We need to latch on to more of these opportunities, because together, I'm sure there's a lot more we can do. One of the things I would like to suggest from the government, Ramesh and the entire team actually, what we can do, this government is your government, we work in a collaborative fashion, you know it. We've always taken your input, we've always taken your advice. Even when we were formulating our policies, our sectoral policies, we've always solicited advice. We have even received a lot of valuable inputs, and we always have factored in your valuable suggestions. So what I would like to propose, in the case of life sciences industry, in fact, what we have is called as a Telangana State Life Sciences Foundation, where we have industry working with us very closely. And there's a group of people who work with us very closely. And what they also do, guys, is they have actually formulated a vision document for the next 10 years and 20 years. In fact, it is their inputs that have given us a lot of insights into assessing the current ecosystem value. For instance, in 2020, when we embarked on an exercise trying to understand the size of the life sciences ecosystem in Hyderabad and how we can grow it to a certain stage by 2030, the next decade. So they came out, with numbers, and they told me, sir, the current valuation of our ecosystem is about 50 billion, and we'd be, doing well if we could, possibly look at doubling it by 2030 over the next decade, is what they said. But they came back again in 2023, early 2023, first quarter, in fact. They said, we have good news and bad news, both. I said, what? They said, bad news first, you have to revise your target. I said, good. What is the good news? They said, we said 50 billion in 2020, we are already at 80 billion in 2023. So we are going to shoot that $100 billion valuation, not in 2030, but 25 or 24 most probably. So you'll have to revise your target. Point I'm trying to make is, if you want to work as a team with the government, what I would love to see happen is, please start assessing, do a SWOT analysis of what we have, what we do not, vis-a-vis other global, BFSI nodes across the world, not just India. Start looking at them. Start looking at opportunities. See, we keep hearing of the story about Gift City in Gujarat. I know it's a non-starter, but of course, I know there is a Prime Minister who wants to see it succeed, so I won't say much. And I wish them well also, because after all, they're in India. I wish them well. But I'm a firm believer that you have to take the ecosystem approach, and you have to take the whole of ecosystem approach, and not look at each of you in isolation or talk to each of you separately. Together, if we can actually start doing 3 things. First thing I'd love to see happen, start giving us inputs into changing our course curriculum in the educational system. I think that's imperative. If you want to keep the pot boiling, if you want to ensure that this city, like you said, becomes the epicenter for BFSI sector, we need to start looking at newer courses and newer challenges, because the world is changing. Not many people understand crypto. You guys do. Probably most of you in this room do. I don't. I have to be honest. I don't understand it as much as you do. Now, we need to help our common man understand what crypto is, what digital currencies are. Most of the lawmakers in this country don't understand, anything about crypto or digital currencies. We need to start educating our people. We need to start bringing in newer elements into our course curriculums, is the first thing I'll tell you. I didn't see a lot. I know Ravi is from Mass Mutual and a very strong insurance company, but I didn't see a strong focus on actuarial sciences. I want you guys to start focusing on actuarial sciences. Tell us, How can we start something in actuarial sciences which will help, us attract more insurance companies, more reinsurers, and more of these companies coming into Hyderabad and India at large. The third thing, curriculum and a collaborative approach. And the third thing I'll tell you, if we need to compete with the Dubais and Singapores and Londons, who are all the financial, New Yorks of the world, who are all the financial hubs of the world, we need to also start looking at more and more of these opportunities. Maybe it's not required that we actually build a new physical stock exchange. Maybe we can build a digital platform. Maybe the future is all digital. We don't need a big bull and a huge sign that says Hyderabad Stock Exchange. Maybe we can build a digital exchange which will actually change the way we work, which will actually change the way we actually, start doing business. Last but not least, you mentioned cyber security. I had a meeting with some credit card companies. They told me that this is one of the biggest challenges they have. And of course, a challenge also presents an opportunity, and I do believe very strongly that as we move towards more and more reliance on digital infra, as we move more and more towards digitization of all of our assets, there's a huge opportunity which we cannot undermine in cybersecurity, especially in the financial services sector. If we can create a center of excellence together with the industry collaborating and acting, like how we created ISB. ISB is a classic example of what can happen in a collaborative fashion. An industry, government came together, the academia actually pitched in. Today we have India's best business school. Likewise, if we can start looking at these three sectors, actuarial sciences, maybe cybersecurity, and maybe also all the newer elements, like I said, the digital exchanges and other things that can happen, which are futuristic, which will involve everything, in dealing with digital currencies and everything else in evolution. I think that is how possibly Hyderabad can continue to maintain its pole position. Now, just to give you numbers, because I think enough of the boring speech, but just to give you numbers. In 2014, when the new state of Telangana came in, our total jobs in technology in Telangana alone were about 323,000. This is direct jobs I'm talking about, not indirect jobs, but direct jobs. And today, as of May this year, in 2023, those numbers have grown exponentially. From 323,000, from 3,23,000, today it's at 9,05,000 jobs, almost a 300% plus growth. More impressive are two more statistics that I'm going to share with you. Our software exports, because India has always been, has been working as an offshore unit for a lot of these large banks and large financial services companies. So a lot of these products that get prepared here, that get made here, are also for the world markets, right? So our software exports back in 2014 were valued at 56,000 crores of Indian rupees. But as of this year, they've risen from Telangana from 56,000 crores to 2,41,000 crores. So almost 400+% growth. What's even more impressive, again, this is something I take very personally, and I take a lot of happiness in saying this. When we started our journey, we were a laggard. We were looked at as a wannabe and somebody who's competing with Bangalore but not there. But I'm happy to share with you that last 2 years, in terms of job creation, we have surpassed Bangalore 2 years in a row. Last year, it was 33% of the total jobs created in India coming from this state and this city, Telangana and Hyderabad. This year, even more impressively, it's 44% of the total jobs created in India coming from this city. But that is not enough. I'm not going to be saying that I'm greedy, I want all 100% jobs coming from Telangana, but there are a lot of other things that Bangalore is doing, a lot other parts of the world are doing, which we aren't. We're not producing as much innovation. We are not producing as many, noticeable entities or noticeable products like other parts of the world. And that is something I would love to see change. I'd love to see how we can have more and more disruptions, more and more products in financial services, in banking sector, in insurance sector, come up from Hyderabad. Why can't we have more startups? Why can't we have more products being developed here? Why can't we actually have more platforms being built from here? So plenty of room to grow, plenty of good things that have happened, but plenty more room to do so much more. And I'd love to see you guys collaborate with us, give us inputs into policy, give us a vision for 2040, 2050, 2047 is a great, number to look at because it's 100 years post-independence and we're about 24 years to there. So what can we do in a stepwise manner every 5 years till 2047? What are the ambitions that we need to, look at? And what can we do to tweak our curriculum? What can we do to upskill our task CEO is here, Shrikant Sinha. How can we actually upskill, reskill, and constantly ensure that our children also not only learn but unlearn some of the bad things that they have learned in school? All of these things, when you come to the industry, we also have to make sure they are in place. So I'd love to see you guys, increase the group, accommodate more women. I think that's a good thing, and make sure that give us as many inputs as you can into making this state the epicenter for financial services, banking, and insurance. Thank you. Great job in coming out with the consortium, and compliments to you on being the first in the country. Cheers. Jai Telangana.
Thank you, sir. Could I please request you to stay back on stage, please? As we all know, every big thing started with an idea, and then a smaller group came and they started planning, and then a little bigger group came, started executing, and that's what BFSI Consortium is also about. So we have planned, now we are also thinking of execution. So for that, we have already chosen a preferred vendor, and this moment we would want to share a letter of intent with the preferred partner. I would like to invite Srini Chakravarti to please come up on the stage. So we are signing an MOU with Technogit, which will be a delivery partner. I would like to, yes, we have Lax, our CEO, on behind you. Since he's not been able to make it to the event today, Srini and Rashmi, Chief of Strategy of Technogit, we would represent him and take the letter of intent. We do have a couple of questions. In the interest of time, we've already pre-curated it, if you're okay for that. You've been a great support and exponential growing the IT sector in Telangana state. How do you think you can help us grow the BFSI sector in the Telangana state?
I think I've said enough, haven't I? I think they're bored right now. I don't think they're... You haven't been hearing is what I think, Rashmi. Jet lag.
Okay, we did hear that. Okay, the next question that's there is also, it looks like the program is very unique. The BFSI consortium is unique, and the partners in ecosystem being here, which is education institution and industries coming together. How is that the government can support? Or how is that the government can add, and how easy it is for all of us to reach out to the government? I know you also said that come back to us with inputs. I'm trying to prove I heard you.
I'll tell you what, one of the best examples of how government and industry can work together is the Cyberabad Security Council. I think it's a brilliant setup where we have a very uniquely constituted body, where we have representatives from the government, we have representatives from the industry, and all of them collaboratively, work together for the betterment of this part of the city and also for the larger benefit of the city. So what we can do is we can actually have a structural arrangement in place where we can have the BFSI consortium actually have a government representative, or if you want more of us, we could have more than one. And then we could have, agendas set, and we could have a vision document that can be prepared, and we work towards it. As in, see, we all ultimately want, like Ramesh said, to democratize this process. I think it's important that all of you participate. And this whole philosophy that each of us have, getting caught up in our own lives, getting caught up in our own enterprises and doing our own thing, working in silos, not wanting to know what the world is up to, etc., is not going to help the cause, larger cause. While it might help you individually and institutionally, I think the larger benefit of the larger cause would not be served. So what I would recommend and what I would suggest is make this an entity which actually has some government participation, has a certain metric to measure itself by, not just a group which meets periodically and talks about what problems you have in the BFSI sector, but start looking at setting up certain targets, start looking at setting up certain metrics where we can actually hold each other accountable. You can ask the government to deliver on a certain promise saying, listen, you said you will introduce these courses in the government education. Why haven't you done it? You should be able to hold me accountable to that. Likewise, I should be able to come back to you and say, Ramesh, while State Street is expanding, why don't you give me more leads into Hartford Insurance or Cigna or others that are coming in, and how can we bring them to Hyderabad? That sort of thing. Help me get more business. And also simultaneously, I think what's important is for us to understand also that Hyderabad alone will not be able to take up all of this load. The other thing I also would love to mention to all of you, we're building plug-and-play infrastructures in Tier 2 towns. I've just inaugurated a facility of a Bain Capital company called VXI Global. They have an ambition to scale up to 10,000 in 5 years. Now, I was telling them, listen, all 10,000 need not be in Hyderabad, because Hyderabad has been growing explosively. Can we not use our Warangal? Can we not look at Karimnagar, Nizamabad? Can we not look at other centers within Telangana and outside of Telangana as well? Can we not look at these and actually start pushing some of the work there? So even within BFSI sector, what I would presume and believe is there is a certain piece of work that can be done from Warangal, Karimnagar, Khammam. Plug-and-play infrastructure is already built. You guys can move in with your computers, plug it in, start working. So therefore, my appeal to you is help the government also decentralize, help the government also ensure, because I am a firm believer that kids from Tier 2 towns have more fire in their belly. They have a point to prove. See, I was a kid who moved from Karimnagar to Hyderabad in my 6th grade. When I moved here to St. George's Grammar School in Abbots, the very first day, I was a bit shocked, because everybody around me was speaking in such fluent English, and I couldn't possibly measure up. So I actually withdrew into a shell. Then it took me almost a month or two to go back to them and speak confidently, and to be able to raise my game and speak to them confidently. The point I'm trying to make is, kids from Tier 2 towns are very good here. They may not be very good, when it comes to communicating as effectively or as pointedly or as explicitly. That is one thing we need to change within our system as well. So help the government decentralize, help the government with new investment ideas, and I'll help you build your story in your companies and the system at large. So I think it could be a collaborative thing with a structural arrangement in place where we have quarterly meetings with agreed goals, with a vision laid out for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I think that's the way forward. And it can continue to evolve.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
No, I just want to let you know that I took the lead role for SCSC now. So you basically assign the work back to me.
Excellent.
That's
That's the best thing about being in politics. You always get to have somebody else work for you. You don't get to do anything.
That's
Cheers.
always a smart leader.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Really appreciate all of you joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. With that, I would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. KTR, for honoring us today with his time and involvement. I would like to thank Vakati Karuna. She was here with us earlier. She had to excuse us. Jayesh Ranjanji for always supporting us and being in the background, and today he couldn't join us. We also like to thank some of the guests here who have made their time today.